This video is about Samuel Gilbert, someone I've never heard anyone talk about. I'm sure somebody must have. A friend of Jack Ruby. This is from a 1978 FBI document. Ms. Shirley Boggs McCormick Stollard, 1401 Regal Apartment 551, Richardson, Texas, furnished the following information to Special Agent Udo H. Specht on September 9th, 1978. Ms. Stollard stated that she wanted to furnish information concerning a Samuel Gilbert, who resided at 4344 Avondale, Dallas, Texas, until his death in 1964. She stated that Samuel Gilbert, who was the same approximate age as Jack Ruby, and Jack Ruby were close personal friends. She related that the Gilbert family and the Rubenstein family, Jack Ruby's parents, moved from Poland to the United States together. These families moved to New York and then to Chicago, with Samuel Gilbert and Jack Ruby eventually both living in Dallas, Texas. Ms. Stollard advised that she and her husband first met Samuel Gilbert in 1959 when they rented a house from him at 4140 Lovers Lane, Dallas, Texas. Beginning in 1960, her father Edgar D. Boggs and mother Ruby C. Boggs moved in with Gilbert at 4344 Avondale and became his live-in housekeepers. The information that she is now providing was related to her by her mother and father, and to some extent sets forth what she personally observed when she visited Gilbert's residence. Jack Ruby came to Gilbert's residence numerous times between 1960 and 1963, and her mother cooked dinner for them on many of those occasions. At one time, Gilbert wanted Jack Ruby to move in with him, but her mother objected because she did not want to take care of another individual. Ms. Stollard related that Gilbert was a somewhat mysterious man who apparently owned quite a large amount of real estate. Gilbert had apparently been an aerial photographer during World War II and was quite proud of his service record. He had a photographic darkroom at his residence that contained numerous aerial photographs. He usually kept the darkroom locked. Gilbert had numerous influential friends, including H.L. Hunt, Dallas oil millionaire Fred Florence, and Russ Meyer, movie producer. She stated that Gilbert's residence at 4344 Avondale was located 2 houses away from General Edwin Walker's home, located on Turtle Creek Boulevard. She advised that on the night that Lee Harvey Oswald allegedly shot at General Walker, her parents and some of the people in the neighborhood allegedly saw a man running through the alley behind General Walker's house after the shooting. Her parents were not sure, but they thought they saw a man run into Gilbert's driveway, and the possibility exists that this man could have hidden in Gilbert's photographic darkroom. In 1962, Gilbert started talking that people were out to get him, and Gilbert thought the mafia was following him. Gilbert was afraid to go out by himself, and on several occasions paid her father, who was in his 70s at the time, $10 to ride shotgun with him. It was on one of those occasions that Gilbert and her father drove to H.L. Hunt's residence, located at White Rock Lake, Dallas, Texas, to deliver strawberries. Gilbert also mentioned that he had a friend by the name of Ferry in New Orleans. Gilbert went to New Orleans frequently prior to 1963. Ms. Stollard advised that Ferry's name came up in the Jim Garrison investigation. That would be David Ferry. In May 1962, Gilbert also allegedly said he was going to Cuba, in that he was concerned with getting the prisoners out of Cuba after the Bay of Pigs invasion. Ms. Stollard advised that she recalls seeing an Israeli and Cuban passport or visa at Gilbert's residence in May 1962. Gilbert was allegedly very upset when he found out that Jack Ruby had shot Oswald, and when he heard the news, he just about passed out. After that time, Gilbert spent a lot of his time trying to raise money for legal counsel for Jack Ruby, as well as money for jeeps for Cuba. Gilbert apparently lost all of his money within a short period of time after the assassination of President Kennedy. Gilbert was hospitalized sometime during January or February 1964, and he died at the convalescent center located across the street from Baylor Hospital on Gaston Avenue, Dallas, Texas. He allegedly had cut his wrists during the night. She is suspicious of his sudden death since he was an apparently influential man. Only 6 people attended his funeral, a closed casket ceremony, 3 of whom were members of her family. Her mother, who is now in her 80s and has had several strokes, resides at the Brookhaven Nursing Home, Farmers Branch, Texas, believed that Gilbert really did not die and believes that he went to Israel to get away from the people that supposedly were after him. Ms. Stollard stated that as far as she knows, Gilbert was never questioned by any investigators after the assassination of President Kennedy, even though Gilbert considered Ruby his best friend. Edgar D. Boggs, Ms. Stollard's father, died several years ago. And, well, that's quite a story, and if this story is true, that would make Samuel Gilbert a pivotal character. I mean, he lives 2 houses down from General Walker. Somebody thinks somebody ran down the alley from Walker's house to Gilbert's house. He's a friend of Jack Ruby, a very close friend of Jack Ruby. But the Warren Commission never mentioned him, although they did mention a Samuel Gilbert. In fact, this FBI document that I've been reading from is prefaced with this page, which mentions that the Warren Commission talked to mentioned a Samuel Gilbert, and it gives you the references there. And that Samuel Gilbert is an insurance executive for a company that had issued a policy to Marguerite Oswald, Lee Harvey Oswald's mother. As you can see here, if you care to read that. And by prefacing this FBI document with this information, it might give the casual reader the impression that Shirley McCormick doesn't know what she's talking about. Yet if you check the 1961 Dallas directory, you'll see that there are 2 Samuel Gilberts. And I know the FBI knows how to do this because I've seen them mention doing this in other documents. You'll see that one of them is indeed an insurance man, and the other one is a photographer for British American oil products. Well, obviously, the Samuel Gilbert that Miss McCormick Stollard is talking about is the photographer for British American oil products. And you can see that the address given there, 4344 Avondale, is the same address that Ms. Stollard gave. So he obviously exists and is not the person that the Warren Commission mentioned. And yet somehow, apparently, the FBI didn't follow up on this, and the HSCA didn't follow up on it. And it seems to me that this would be a very important character to investigate if you really wanted to find out what happened. And Samuel Gilbert, though, was mentioned in other HSCA documents, though he was not the subject of those documents. This is something to do with organized crime. I admit I haven't studied to understand exactly why the HSCA is interested in this. But in this document, it is mentioned that there he is down in the bottom there. Sam Gilbert drove to Toronto, and he's associated with these criminals here. And this will be prior to his moving to Dallas. And in this other document here, he's associated with the Weinberg gang in Dallas. So First information we have on him is that he was a photographer in World War II. Apparently after that he did criminal stuff, and then he became a photographer for an oil company and buddied up with H.L. Hunt. Man, this is a death notice in the newspaper. It must be from early 1964. It has him at another address on the same street that Shirley McCormick Stollard said she was living on. Well, it's a different street number, 7816 Lovers Lane. It looks like by the time he died, he had moved away from the General Walker neighborhood. And you can see that he does have relatives in Israel, too. Well, that's all the information I have on him. It seems clear that he was an important person to question and to investigate. Maybe that's why he had to die in February 1964, whether he really died or not. But it sounds like this is one that they couldn't let stay loose. They would have had to have done something with him. And, well, I got no more to say about it, I guess, except that it's just amazing. It would be amazing if a real investigation had been done and they had missed this person. But, of course, it wasn't a real investigation. It was a cover-up. That's what happens when you let the perps do the investigation.